Hello, I'm Debbie Kay, Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Portland. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to help citizens make informed choices in elections. We do not endorse any candidate or any political party, but rather we give voters the information they need to select a candidate. Membership information is available on our website and at the table at the entry. We want to thank the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the Rose E. Tucker Charitable Trust, the Multnomah Bar Foundation, Metro East Community Media, and Paloma Clothing for their generous contributions to our education fund to make these forums possible. Today's forum is being recorded by Metro East Community Media. This forum will be available for on-demand viewing from a link on our website, lwvpdx.org, and from the website of Metro East Community Media, metroeast.org. To view the forums on local access cable TV, see the playback schedule posted on our website or in your program. The deadline to register to vote was yesterday, but you can still verify your registration or change your address or political party. If you may to do that, please contact your county elections office or search online, and you can find the online link on our website. Ballot mailing began today, and you should receive yours very soon. This evening, because the opposing candidate agreed to come but has not arrived, we will continue with the forum. And now I will turn our forum over to our moderator, Linda Mather.
Thanks, Debbie. We are dealing with the Metro Council for District 5, and as indicated, on my left is Sam Chase, who will be interviewed as we proceed here. And one of the things Mr. Chase suggested is that he spend a few minutes explaining exactly what Metro does. So we're going to start with that. Mr. Chase?
Well, thank you so much. And before I start, I would love to thank the League of Women Voters for the service and work that is happening here in this day and age with the media that, going in a lot of different directions. To have a steadfast organization that is reliable and trusted like the League in an election cycle is really fantastic. I'd love to explain a little bit about what Metro does. It's a pretty unusual body of government. It's there are many regional governments around the country. Metro is the only one that has elected officials running it. It does a number of has a number of functions, including we operate the Expo Center, the Convention Center. We operate the Portland 5 art facilities downtown. We have some golf courses. We have cemeteries around the region. We manage, many people think of Metro when they recycle because we manage the solid waste facilities and how we dispose of solid waste from our region. And then we also are very engaged in protecting and preserving our wildlife and open space areas around the region. We have 17,000 acres of open space and wildlife areas, parks, so that people can have really a big backyard and a natural areas right here in our urban environment. We also manage, of course, the urban growth boundary and how we grow and develop as a region. Do we want to grow out? Do we want to grow up? Do we want to, if we are going to take on more growth, how do we do it and make sure it's occurring in the right places in our region? And then, of course, we also have a lot of authority around transportation and authorizing transportation plans for the region and resources that go along with that transportation.
Okay, thank you for the overview. We would have normally asked you for an opening statement, and how about we transition to that?
Well, thank you so much. And really, the reason I ran 4 years ago for Metro Council and I'm running again is because we've done I think a good job of creating a quality of life here in our region that many of us enjoy, that also keeps many of us living in this region and attracts many people to this region, that also supports a strong economy. But the problem is not everybody has access to that quality of life and the economy that many of us enjoy. And to me, I don't want to live in a region where we don't provide the opportunity for everyone to succeed. So we need to do much more work around making sure that we have affordable housing as part of our strategy, that we have an equity strategy, that we make sure everybody has access to open space and wildlife areas, and that we're building parks and natural areas in places that are traditionally underserved. So those are some of the areas that I've really focused on in my first 3 years, and there's a lot more work to do moving forward.
Okay. You mentioned the urban growth boundary, so let's try a question on that. Do you see it expanding in the next few years? And why or why not?
I don't see it expanding in the next few years. We have the capacity to accommodate the growth that is needed within the existing urban growth boundary. Now, that doesn't mean that there might not be times where there are parts of our region where we manage and adjust our urban growth boundary. But for the most part, we have an ability to grow in a compact way. What's very important is that as we do that, we are accommodating the needs of our residents. That's why earlier I talked about the wildlife and natural areas. Why is that so important when you're thinking about density and growing in a compact way? Well, if everybody has a big backyard, you get a lot of sprawl. That brings smog, that brings traffic, that brings air pollution, a whole lot of other challenges with that. It's very expensive. So to have open space in natural areas allows us to have a big shared backyard, but you don't have to just wait till the weekend to go to Mount Hood or to the beach. You actually get to enjoy those natural areas right here in our urban environment. So that's a very important kind of strategy to make sure that we can keep the urban growth boundary in place. And then, of course, how do we develop and create transportation systems so that we're not congested? If you've noticed, the last 5 years have been very difficult around getting around, and so I'd be happy to talk about that some more. I see I'm out of time.
Well, go ahead. We'll give you another.
So, thank you.
You can solve that one in another 60 seconds.
So I'll solve it in 60. No,
Right.
It is a big challenge that we all are working very carefully on. But if we want to address congestion, we have to get, and we want to make sure freight moves around, is able to move around so business can be successful. We've got to get cars off the road. So a really important part of that is to make sure that we have and we do the careful planning to allow high capacity transit. And yes, that means either bus rapid transit, that means light rail, that means bus routes and increasing bus routes. We need to look at all of those options and the cost effectiveness of those different options and getting those and how those can help us get cars off the road. We also need active transportation strategies. We need to make sure it's safe and affordable for folks to use bicycle and walk. Many people are more and more doing that to get around the region, and we need to make sure that that is an option for folks. And when we do that, not only are we reducing congestion, but we're creating healthier lives, and we actually save healthcare dollars when we do that.
Not quite a transition, but let's try this question. One of the suggested methods for disposing of the metro region's trash after 2019 is incineration. Do you favor this choice? And if so, how would you propose to mitigate the attendant air pollution?
Well, we are looking at that right now, and I think that is something that I'm enthusiastic about, the idea of taking our solid waste and turning it into energy and finding a way to use that for another purpose, also reducing our energy needs. But I think we do have to look very carefully at the local community and the filtration and how that's going to impact air quality. I don't think we've done all our homework yet to make that decision. I think we need to look more carefully at the air quality issues. Air quality is something that's very important to me. As a region, we are growing, again, more compactly. Residential areas are next to industrial areas. As those populations grow, we are seeing more and more of a conflict of the air issues coming from those industrial areas and affecting residential areas, and residents don't want that, and business doesn't want that. Business wants predictability and reliability in the system too. So we need to have a better system to look at and monitor air quality needs. And part of part of it is as we look at incineration, making sure that we're understanding the air quality issues there, and then we also need a larger, better system to evaluate overall air quality for our region.
Okay, let's try this one. Washington County has achieved strong economic growth relative to East Multnomah County. Which of the Washington County programs or policies would you use in East Multnomah County to promote economic development?
Well, I do think that's a really great observation. We have jobs in Washington County and housing that's more affordable in East County. And one of the things we need to do is look at how we're creating housing opportunities and really be more proactive about creating housing opportunities in Washington County and creating job access in East Multnomah County. We have work that we are doing to try to help plan and understand how we can make sure that industrial lands are available in East Multnomah County. One of the things that is really a challenge for our region, as I said earlier, we really do have the room to grow residentially in our region. We have a lot of work to do to make sure that that happens in the right ways, but we have the room to do that. But in terms of industrial lands, we need to really make sure that we have adequately sized industrial land so that medium or small businesses can grow into medium and large businesses right here in our region without having to move to another part of the country. We also want to make sure that we're attractive to the right kinds of industry that want to be part of this wonderful region and quality of life that we have.
Okay. I think then we can turn now to both your closing as well as there's some other issues that we haven't addressed that you want to address.
Well, there's a couple of things that I would mention that have really been big priorities for me, and I think we've been able to build a lot of momentum around, and those are related to the equity issues that we are facing as a region. Again, there are many folks, communities of color, underserved folks, lower income populations that are getting left behind in our economy and with the quality of life that we've created. So we really need to focus and identify affordable housing strategies. How do we work with, there are 25 local jurisdictions in our metro area. How do we work with all of those jurisdictions to help them put policies in place that will make it easier and more affordable to build housing for folks in their communities? So we've initiated an equitable housing strategy. I was successful in getting an amendment passed in our budget to start a affordable housing program that we have launched. I would love the support of voters to give me 4 more years to continue to advance that strategy. Also really important is creating that access to our open space areas. One of the things that we have that I feel strongly about and I'm proud of moving forward is that St. John's is an area that's in my district and is an example of a place that has typically been underserved. I see I'm out of time, so I don't know if I can
Keep going.
expand a little bit on this one. St. John's has typically been an underserved community. There is a old landfill there called the St. John's landfill. We're going to call it the St. John's Prairie. It's 300 acres that we've restored over 30 years. It's been restored back to a natural area. We have a range of wildlife. I saw a 4-point buck there, but the public has no access to this incredible area on the edge of St. John's, next to Smith and Bybee Lakes. Well, we were able to secure the resources. We were able to build a bridge into the area and a trail into the area, and now that area in 2 years will be accessible to people from Columbia Villa, St. John's, and beyond. And I think it's going to be the envy of the Forest Park goers.
I think you've given the example that answers this question, but let's just try this one if you would. Metro owns many parklands without funding for developing them. What is your plan for these lands?
Well, we do have two bonds that I would really first like to thank the voters for supporting two bonds and a levy to create the opportunity that we have to access 17,000 acres of natural and wildlife area in our region. We passed a levy, the voters passed a levy. We have spent those dollars very efficiently and addressed a lot of the equity issues that our region needs, but also really focused on maintaining, improving the wildlife areas around our region. We've been so successful that I believe we need to go back to the voters and ask that they support a renewal of the levy. It would not be an increase in taxes. It would be a continuation of the existing levy. Those dollars are critical to make sure that we're maintaining and taking care of those lands, removing plant species that are invasive, and creating also access and trails that allow people to get into those areas. If we want to have stewards for our future environmentalists, we need to make sure they have access to our natural areas. So those are some of the really important priorities for those levy dollars.
And you mentioned some transportation, but let's try this one. How can East County be better served by transportation, especially on the Powell Boulevard corridor?
Well, I do think we need to develop the Powell Division corridor. We looked and one of the things we do well at Metro is data analysis and really understanding a project before we get into it. That is our role. So, for example, we'll really take a lead role in planning the Powell Division corridor, and then we'll essentially turn the project over to TriMet when it's time for the implementation part of creating that. Now, again, Metro and TriMet are different government bodies. We do really the planning of those corridors. TriMet really does the implementation and the build-out of those projects. So one of the things that we found was looking at a bus rapid transit strategy, which I like because it's a relatively affordable strategy, that the times were not as fast as we'd like in that corridor. So we took a step back and said, let's not do this until we feel really confident in the data and the analysis that we are going to be serving folks out in this East County community as well, and making sure that they can get into town in a timely way. So that's kind of where we had to take a step back and make sure we're doing the right work. But we are committed to continuing and finding ways to create even better access for East County. And then, of course, there's the infrastructure, the sidewalks, and other infrastructure needs that we are contributing resources towards planning and identifying strategies to bring more resources into those areas.
As you've indicated, first of all, there are a number of issues, and then almost any of the issues have many complexities to them. We thank you for the clarification that you've given us so far. Any final comments that you'd like to make?
Well, again, I really am honored to serve the voters of the region. I work to represent the entire region. My jurisdiction is downtown Portland, all of North Portland, most of Northeast Portland, all of Northwest Portland, and a little bit of Washington County. So they're large areas, but I'm honored to serve and really thank you. And I hope I will earn your support for 4 more years to really address some of these equity issues around access and affordability and addressing our affordable housing crisis in this region. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the League of Women Voters Forum for candidates for District 5 for Metro. I want to thank Mr. Chase for being here and sharing his views, and also for the timekeepers and other volunteers who made tonight possible. Please check our website, lwvpdx.org, to view all of our forums on demand and for replay dates, times, and channels for local access cable TV. Pick up, I have a AV here, pick up a copy of the Voter's Guide at your local public library, at the election office, or at a New Seasons market. Or online, you can check vote411.org for a guide to your personal ballot. Election Day is May 17th. As in all Oregon elections, you will receive a mail-in ballot. Mine arrived today. So be sure to look for it, and then remember to mail it back early or deliver it to an official drop-off site anywhere in Oregon no later than 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 17th. Postmarks do not count. Thank you for watching. Please be an informed voter. Have these discussions with your friends and neighbors, and remember that your vote counts. Thank you.